4 lovely colors: green, gold, peach, soft grey and taupe. So I'm going to show you something a bit different. These colors are muted, but I'm using bright colors, high chroma colors from Qor, the watercolor. I'm going to use that along with Horadam gouache, titanium white, and I have paint grey on standby if I needed to make it darker, but I'm going to try and mix all these colors without using black, as in having paint grey in it, which is black and ultramarine blue, a mix of. So I'm not using that. So I'm trying to mix my colors using these high chroma colors, watercolors. And what that means, high chroma means, is a very pure intensity, very strong, highly pigmented colors, very bright, vibrant colors. And the 6 colors in the set is it's green, gold, and pyrrole orange, quinacridone magenta, dioxazine purple, cobaltine, and it has the it also has gold. It's called quinacridone gold, the brown color, which is a beautiful warm brown. But first I'm mixing the green gold color, so I'm using the color as is, which is this really lovely chameleon-like yellow green, and I've just mixed in a white gouache with that to make it more opaque, a bit more muted. And now I'm mixing peach, and I'm using the pyrrole orange as well as the magenta to get a slightly cooler color. And what you get there, the color is very clean. So I'm adding a bit of the complementary color, so to speak. I'm adding a blue along the orange color, and that will make it muted. That will effectively make it more, almost like a bit more muddy. And I'm adding a little bit of purple as well. And I'm doing this because I'm experimenting and I'm trying to see what happens. So you can see the color tends to become a more grey, muted, neutral version. And I'm mixing it up a bit more between the adding of the turquoise. Look at this cobalt teal turquoise color and the purple. It's become a slightly less vibrant color. You can mix a muted color from a vibrant color, but you cannot mix a vibrant color from a more muted or less vibrant basic color. These very vibrant colors, when I put them together, I can get a very dynamic, beautiful dynamic gray, as you see here. This soft gray color is a mix of cobalt teal, and because I'm experimenting, I'm adding a little bit of purple as well, and see what does it change to it. It makes it into a cool gray. So I'm adding a bit more white, make it a bit more opaque, and I want to get back to that more green, the green color I had before. If I paint that on top of that, it alters it a little. And it's really good to play with the color in this small quantities. I'm mixing it on a disposable paper palette, and by mixing it, I'm engaging all the time, and I'm figuring out how to mix the color, and I'm trying with the limited colors in the set to see, but what happens if I add a bit more of this, if I change it around to have a bit more, if the brown is added, then it makes it more warmer. I'm observing all the time, and I'm altering it to get to the color that's more or less what I had before. Adding a bit of purple again, and I'm knocking it back into a more neutral gray. So as the colors are mixed together, it becomes a more muted gray neutral, and then it goes warmer when I add the warm quinacridone gold. It goes cooler when the purple is added. When I add the teal, it becomes more blue and warm. If I add magenta to it, it will become a pinker color. But I'm leaving that for now, and I'm moving on to a brown color. Now brown you get when you mix the 3 primaries. So if you mix yellow, blue and red, in terms of old theory, you'll get a brown. And the same is true here as well. When you have the green gold, the cobalt teal, and the magenta, orange, you mix it all together, you'll get a beautiful rich brown. So my color is taupe, but I'm also mixing a stronger color for contrast. But this taupe color needs a lot of white, so I'm mixing the white into that to get the color more pale, adding a bit of purple, and that knocks it back, make it a bit cooler, so it's not too warm. A bit of orange, this pyrrole orange. And these are all quite translucent colors, so the white gouache makes it opaque. I've just dabbed some of the blue-green color, and I'm getting it back to the color I want it to be. And now I'm writing down all the colors that I've used to mix it with as a memory in my little logbook. And here I'm going to make a little painting. I'm using Tesa masking tape. It's a very thin masking tape. It's really worth having that on roll. It's fairly expensive, but it goes a long way. It's a masking tape that's really thin and sensitive to pressure, and it pulls off paper and doesn't damage the paper when you paint around it and then pull it off. So I'm painting the peach. I'm making a little landscape, but this is just a sketch in my sketchbook. It's not serious. I'm playing around. I started off with the taupe as the basic color. I'm adding some green gold, and I'm painting basic shapes of canopies of trees around there. I'm using a number 10 round brush. I'm mixing a bit of the white in there, but it's a bit more of a grey neutral color I'm adding there as well, playing around a little bit with that, the grey and the taupe, lighter version of it, and just painting around it, keeping it very loose, very light, very quick. So this is an exercise to see what the colors do. How does it fit together? How do the colors speak to each other? Loose and light. I'll add the detail later. So I want to have some brush strokes, broad, bold brush strokes. And now I'm adding the sky in the soft grey color. You can see it's a warmish grey, as in it reads quite blue, warm blue, the turquoise playing a role there, the cobalt teal, and I'm adding more marks, a bit of detail in my rest of my painting. So by working with these limited colors, the sky color is also used for detail on the landscape. So I'm still making the bigger marks. I'm starting having some more detail, but it's part of the second layer. I'm lifting off the little house shape. There the masking tape comes off, and now I'll paint that in an off-white to accentuate where the house is. I'm not leaving it as a white paper. I'm using the gouache and just accentuating the house shape, and taking the taupe, painting that on the roof. Here I'm using a dagger brush, and for those of you who've done my courses and are familiar with my favorite materials, you know I love a dagger brush. You can do so much with it. I'm using it on its side here. It's a bit like a calligraphy pen in some way, in that you can use it on its side. I'm using it upside down there, and it is really fine. It's like 3 brushes in one. You have a very fine point, and then you can also just paint with the flatter area and create these broader strokes. Now I'm adding finer detail, and I'm using the same color I've made to make the brown, the taupe. I'm using the quinacridone gold and the purple And I mix it together and I get really, really strong brown. I'm going to dumb it down a bit. I'm going to dull it a little bit with the teal, just taking the edge of it so it's not too strong a color. A bit more purple added to it. And now with my dagger brush, I'm adding the detail of the trees, creating the branches, the trunk of the tree, and doing it quite methodically, adding the components there. You can see I'm using the brush upside down, and maybe it's a bit controversial, but I really like using the brush in this way. I ended up not using Payne's grey. It's not necessary because the colors become quite muted and neutral in any case, having the mixes here. And it's a nice contrast having this deep brown, very dark chocolate brown color as my detail rather than black. There's a time and a place for black, of course, but I think this is quite a nice way to use a dark color that's not necessarily a strong contrast such as a black, which does not really relate to any of the other colors so much. So high chroma, the colors that I started in the beginning, there's no black in any of what I'm painting here, so it retains a freshness even though the colors are muted. And with Coloricombo, the idea is to use the colors in the color prompt to mix them up. They will mix a little bit together as well as you paint. It doesn't have to be puristic that you have to just use those colors exactly as they are. There will be a bit of a blend as it happens, and then you can also add a neutral light color if you wish and a contrasting darker color, whether that be a deep blue, something like Payne's grey. You can add black if that suits, navy, deep blue, indigo blue, deep dark purple, and so you can add another color that does not distract too much, unless of course you deliberately want to add another color because it suits what you want to do, and that's all part of the process. It's to start off with colors, it's a catalyst for creativity, and it's an idea to work with these limited colors, come up with a theme or a topic, a little painting, a sketch that you can work where it can be incorporated, and then go from there. So my theme for 2024 is home, and using the house shape as my muse, just this archetypal, typical shape of a house that's recognizable. Sometimes it will be more decorative. Some of them I will put them in a scenario, in a little landscape. Sometimes I'll fill the house with patterns and shapes and marks, whatever I want to do. It's free for me to choose, and maybe sometimes it will just feature in a very small, as a very small part of my weekly artwork. But it's a nice way for me to focus on continuing this, the color prompts and doing it myself. There are thousands of you who get the prompts, and I love seeing what you create. If you're not already in the Facebook group, you're very welcome to join. It's called Creative Prompts with Esther McLeod, and that's where basically where all the Coloricombo outcomes can be posted, and of course it can also be posted on Instagram with the hashtag Coloricombo. You can add Coloricombo 2024, and you can also tag me or hashtag Esther McLeod. It's quite nice to then see what people create when I can link it up to the prompts tag. I'm adding a bit more detail in the end, so I'm now doing the very last little bits of detail. You can see there's a lot of texture, repetition of texture, marks that go in the same direction. to give more context of this landscape, the plants that surrounds the house. Everything is very stylized, simplified into forms and shapes. I'm painting this with a round brush, and I'm using the green gold color on the plants, almost like little flowers or seed heads, so that the color is used in different areas as well. And then I'm painting some birds using the ultra round, it's a Silver Silk 88 is the brush that I'm using. It's ultra round, and it has a very fine point but quite a big reservoir, so it's a good go-to brush. It's it holds a lot of paint, but it allows you to paint really finely. So that is my week 4 in my sketchbook, and the colors being used. These are not really my go-to colors. Taupe is not a color I use very often, so for me that was a good exercise in focusing and using the taupe color as part of the color mix. So I hope you've enjoyed this little demo, and I look forward to see what you do. Have fun painting, creating, engage with color, and make it part of your creative habit. It's a good one to have. Enjoy.